You should always write tests for your code, full stop. Don't give excuses like it's going to take longer for me to write tests than code. Most developers spend a lot of time debugging, and in the world of microservices and complex components and environments, your code may break somebody else's system. Therefore, it's ever more important to make sure your code behaves as it's supposed to. And we'll be talking about a way of developing software in this video: test-driven development. It is an iterative process that involves writing tests that specify the desired behavior of the code first, then test your code during and after development. Yes, you have to write the test even before you code. But as a Kafka developer, meaning developer that needs to write application that produce and consumes data from Kafka, including Kafka Streams and Kafka Connects, I felt the most annoying thing that I always have to spin up a cluster of Kafka or a streaming platform during development and constantly recreating a topic to keep it clean. On top of that, after pushing and committing my code, I also need to set up the data streaming cluster for every environment to run the test in the CI pipelines, as well as a script that will reset these clusters for the next set of tests. In the demo, I'm going to demonstrate a way that makes life easier, and this is what I call a true developer joy. First, we'll be using Quarkus. Its dev mode is what you need. It allows you to make changes to the code and see the result immediately without having to restart the application and rebuild the containers. And you'll need the test container, where it will create and start container running the services you specified. We can pre-configure it to be running at the desired state of how you want to test it. The way to start it is to add it to your testing code. So instead of creating a mock endpoint, you'll have an actual service and has as many of it as you want. There's no need to share. And since it's all in your test code, it is rerunnable. Last but not least, Repanda container. For testing, especially with having independent running container services, you want it to be super lightweight and fast. Repanda is already by default used in Quarkus dev services, so why not use it for testing as well? During development or in many other CI systems, you always pull the image for its build, especially with GitHub and GitLab. You want to make sure the images are small. Repanda is currently at about 1/3 of the size compared to an actual Kafka instance. And plus, you don't need to separately install zookeepers and schema registries or HTTP endpoints. That's 3 more containers. With my super simple demo, it is simply identifying the underage customers. All customer informations are streamed into customer topic, and my application will filter it and place the underage customer into another topic called underage, obviously. This demo was created with the test-driven development approach. First, I have defined the desired behavior in a test. Quarkus uses Quarkus test libraries, which was basically JUnit 5 being wrapped around. And here is the POM file and its dependencies. Alright, go back to the test. Here's the test, where I have pre-configured to stream 8 customers' data with 2 that are underage. As you can see, I'm expecting to see 2 as the result. Now let's configure our streaming platform, Repanda with Testcontainers. Here are the dependencies you'll need for Maven, and if you're using Gradle, you'll be the same. Sorry, I'm an old school Maven person. I have a class implements Quarkus Test Resource Lifecycle Manager. So Quarkus will tell test container when to start a new Repanda broker and when to destroy it when the tests are done. The way we inject the test container to the test is by annotating it on the top of the test class. Here I made some changes to the startup for better testing experience. By default, Repanda will allocate fixed amount of memories and CPU cores, which is ideal for productions, but for development and CI testing purpose with limited hardware capacity, I will add the over-provision indicator to accommodate container resource limitation so Repanda would not lock the thread. Of course, you have any other preferences, always welcome to customize it based on your need. Now I'm going to go ahead and start the dev mode by running Maven dev. As it starts, it will prompt and ask you to run the test. Once I've typed in R, it will automatically run the test for me. I'm going to also type O to toggle the test log. And you'll see test container will spin up Docker containers running Redpanda for this test. Once the tests are done, the container gets destroyed and goes away. Okay, so now I've decided to change the underage limit from 20 to 30 and rerun the test. You see that now the test is failed, telling me that the result is not what it's expecting. That's fair. I'm going to change the underage limit back to 20 and rerun the test again. And yes, you'll see that all tests has passed. And wait, that's not all. Now it's time for me to commit the code and hopefully to run this unit test again to identify bugs and failures before we really deploy that into the next, say, UAT environment. Like what I just mentioned, before test containers, I always have to manually set up the streaming clusters. Now I don't. There's no single line of code that needs to be changed, and here is a quick view of my overly simple CI pipeline in GitHub Action. So here's the step where I kick off the test, and the test container will pull the lightweight Redpanda images and start it. The test is then run against the streaming platform in the CI that is completely independent. Once the test passes, it will move on to other CI step and finally reach the continuous development pipeline. So here you go. That's all about my test-driven development continuous integration testing demo with Quarkus, Repanda, test containers, and GitHub Action. Thank you. Please, if you like this video, please subscribe and click that like button.